abuse. And by the end of the film, I just remember just being so touched and moved and having no idea of what.
Taylor Swift appears to be mocking Justin Baldoni in newly revealed messages, as hundreds of previously sealed court documents have now been made public, and the situation doesn't reflect well on either her or Blake Lively. The unsealed texts, reportedly exchanged between Blake Lively and Taylor Swift during the legal dispute involving Lively and her "It Ends With Us" co-star and director Justin Baldoni, have sparked widespread backlash online and drawn intense public scrutiny from fans, media outlets, and legal commentators alike. What might once have been perceived as harmless, private messages between two high-profile friends now carry serious implications, as the text suggests that Lively enlisted one of the world's most influential musicians to support her preferred version of the film's script, even in the presence of Baldoni and at a time when Swift had not yet read the material herself. Analysts and observers are noting that the tone of these communications blends humor, mockery, and strategic persuasion in a way that appears calculated rather than casual, with Lively reportedly referring to Baldoni as a doofus and a clown, while Swift echoed unwavering support without questioning the circumstances. The release of these documents has prompted renewed conversations about the boundaries between friendship, professional influence, and the ethical use of celebrity power in Hollywood, as many interpret the interactions as an attempt to leverage star status to exert pressure in a professional setting. Additionally, the texts have raised concerns about the optics of such behavior, revealing how private messages can be weaponized or interpreted as manipulation when made public, and highlighting the tension between personal loyalty and accountability in high-stakes creative environments. As the revelations continue to circulate, the narrative has evolved far beyond a simple creative disagreement over a script, with critics and fans alike debating the dynamics of power, consent, and professional integrity in situations where fame, influence, and personal relationships intersect. The ongoing fallout has not only cast a spotlight on Lively and Swift but also sparked broader discussions about the responsibility of public figures to navigate interpersonal and professional conflicts transparently, leaving both women facing unprecedented scrutiny, reputational challenges, and questions about how their actions may have influenced others involved in the production and beyond. The newly unsealed court documents reveal an unprecedented level of coordination and strategic maneuvering involving Blake Lively, Taylor Swift, and other Hollywood figures, casting a stark light on how private influence can intersect with professional projects. According to the filings, Lively appears to have positioned herself as the central power player in the "It Ends With Us" production, likening her role to Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones, with Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift acting as her dragons to protect her interests. In one message directed to Justin Baldoni, Lively wrote, "We all benefit from my relationship with Reynolds and Swift, and you will too." Language that reads less like a collaborative team effort and more like a veiled warning. Comply with her wishes, or face the combined influence of two of the world's most famous celebrities. The documents indicate that Lively enlisted Swift's participation to exert pressure on Baldoni at multiple stages. In April 2024, Swift and Lively were seen strategizing about incorporating Swift's music into the film's trailer. Taylor texted, "If Justin was strategic, he would be like, no, Taylor Swift in the trailer because that gives you more power over the film. That's your ally, not his." Lively responded, "You are so right. He should have run from your music. How stupid." Observers note that these exchanges suggest a deliberate use of celebrity influence as a lever against the director, rather than a focus on creative collaboration. In the same filings, Lively reportedly shared that her husband, Ryan Reynolds, had written a revised rooftop scene, emphasizing how far the intervention extended into the creative process. Another message revealed Lively instructing that everyone weighs in before he responds to a text, writes an email, or trims his hair. "It's wild, everyone participates," underscoring a coordinated effort to control every aspect of Baldoni's work. The reach of Lively's intervention reportedly went beyond script adjustments. The filings allege that she brought in actors including Matt Damon, Lucy Damon, Ben Affleck, and Bradley Cooper, personally directing their performances and restructuring the entire script, while describing Baldoni to Affleck as a chaotic clown. Observers have pointed out that these exchanges raise questions about where harassment or safety concerns begin and end, as much of the language reflects an attitude of superiority rather than fear or genuine threat. Baldoni has reportedly stated that he felt pressure not only from Lively and Swift but also from Reynolds, highlighting the breadth of celebrity influence applied to the production. The documents also suggest that Swift was involved in preemptive PR strategy, including discussions about a New York Times article prior to its December 2023 publication. On May 30th, Josh Greenstein, then president of Sony, informed Lively that Baldoni's cut of the film tested better with audiences than her version. Following this, Swift sent Lively a link to a People magazine article in which Baldoni shared that he had been sexually traumatized by an ex-girlfriend. Lively's response, "I think this B-word knows something. Word is coming because he's gotten out his tiny violin was widely interpreted as mocking someone's trauma while simultaneously acknowledging foreknowledge of a coordinated media strategy. The exchanges reveal a pattern of actions that many critics describe as a calculated effort to manipulate the director. Using both celebrity influence and media messaging, Lively's texts, often praising Swift's unquestioning support and celebrating her participation, demonstrate that these interactions were not about safety, collaboration, or addressing legitimate creative concerns, but rather about consolidating control and leveraging star power for personal objectives. Within weeks of these events, Lively filed a complaint with the California Civil Rights Department, by which point Swift had already been deeply involved in the discussions. The documents suggest that Swift was aware of PR strategies and actively looped into the unfolding legal and media maneuvers, further demonstrating the interconnectedness of celebrity, influence, and professional power in this high-profile conflict. The timing of these revelations raises serious questions about the nature of the coordination between Blake Lively, Taylor Swift, and the New York Times, suggesting that what appeared to be a spontaneous outcry may instead have been a carefully orchestrated media offensive. According to the filings, strategic leaks, celebrity endorsements, and tightly controlled messaging left Justin Baldoni's team with virtually no opportunity to respond before publication, adding yet another layer of calculated manipulation to an already complex situation. The documents depict Lively actively orchestrating her allies like chess pieces, using her relationships with high-profile figures including Swift and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, as leverage to exert influence over the production and public perception. One message reportedly expresses a sense of invincibility, with Lively seemingly confident that her actions would go unchallenged, even comparing her manipulation of Baldoni to predators who feel untouchable. Taylor Swift's involvement is particularly striking, given that her spokesperson initially stated she had no role in it. Ends with us beyond licensing a song for the soundtrack. The documents, however, paint a very different picture. Swift allegedly attended script meetings, contributed to trailer strategy, coordinated messaging around legal filings, and received updates on PR planning, demonstrating active participation far beyond a passive musical contribution. In text exchanges, Swift responds to Lively's inquiries about production matters and legal strategy in ways that reinforce Lively's objectives, often without questioning or raising concerns, further highlighting the depth of her involvement. The filings also reveal that Lively consistently disregarded professional input from others. When Josh Greenstein, then president of Sony, informed her that Baldoni's cut of the film tested better with audiences than hers, Lively allegedly overruled the data, insisting that her version would move forward, and casually including Swift's name as extra leverage even though Swift held no formal production role. Messages show Lively declaring, "Colleen and I are declaring now this is the cut. Colleen and I are declaring now this is the cut. It's done from my perspective, from Colleen's, and from Taylor's and from Sony's," reflecting a pattern that many observers have described as less professional oversight and more tyrannical control. Dismissing contractual obligations, audience testing, and the creative input of the director, the scope of Lively's influence extended beyond script decisions. In August 2024, a mutual acquaintance reportedly facilitated communication between Lively and Stephanie Jones, who shared information found on Jennifer Abel's personal phone, with Swift aware of the exchange. The texts suggest Lively was actively monitoring potential evidence, media coverage, and legal strategy, with Swift looped into the coordination. Throughout these communications, Lively never expressed fear, discomfort, or any genuine sense of being harassed. Instead, she mocked Baldoni's intelligence, celebrated manipulating him, and detailed plans to consolidate creative control, revealing a stark contrast between her public allegations of sexual harassment and hostile work environment and her private behavior. Additional messages purportedly show Lively involving other A-list stars, including Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, reviewing edits and restructuring scenes, and referring to Baldoni as a doofus and a clown, bragging about directing the film around him. The gap between her public claims and private communications is striking. While she portrays herself publicly as a victim of harassment, the private texts suggest she felt superior, entitled, and empowered, using her celebrity relationships as tools to exert influence and pressure. Critics argue that such behavior undermines the credibility of legitimate workplace harassment claims, as it blurs the line between genuine complaints and calculated manipulation, creating potential harm not only to those directly involved in this case but also to anyone seeking justice for real harassment in professional environments. Even in her more formal correspondence, Lively's tone conveys detachment and control. In one instance, she responds to concerns as if replying to a corporate feedback email, further underscoring the contrast between public narrative and private strategy. What happens next casts an equally critical light on Taylor Swift, whose public image has long been built on loyalty, authenticity, and championing other women. The documents now reveal that she actively participated in a coordinated effort that appears to have targeted Justin Baldoni's career and reputation, mocking his sexual trauma, fabricating endorsements, and helping orchestrate media attacks. These actions stand in stark contrast to the persona Swift has cultivated for decades, raising serious questions about her judgment and intentions. Observers are left wondering why Swift later distanced herself from Blake Lively if they were so closely aligned throughout the campaign. Did she anticipate the reputational fallout and seek plausible deniability? Or was there an internal disagreement that has yet to come to light? Regardless, the damage is tangible, the texts exist, they are public, and they paint a picture that cannot be ignored. In one particularly striking message, Ryan Reynolds allegedly described Baldoni as a malignantly vain, sociopathic faux feminist with almost no sense of boundaries, underscoring the level of disdain and personal attacks that were circulating among Lively's inner circle. Lively's legal team now appears to be attempting to downplay the meaning of these texts, acknowledging their authenticity but arguing that the words did not mean what they clearly appear to mean. Such a defense is difficult to sustain when the language is so explicit and the pattern so consistent. Repeatedly calling someone a doofus and a clown, celebrating manipulation, and coordinating pressure campaigns is hardly defensible as self-protection or The involvement of other A-list figures including Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and Bradley Cooper further emphasizes the extent to which Lively leveraged her social network, portraying Baldoni as a chaotic, incompetent director and insisting she had to take over the creative process. Whether these celebrities understood they were being drawn into a personal power struggle and had their names invoked as tools of intimidation remains a question they may ultimately have to answer. Swift's name was similarly used as leverage, inserted casually into messages as if her fame alone would tip the balance of authority, rather than prioritizing the film, the audience, or genuine workplace ethics. Perhaps the most troubling aspect of this saga is the arrogance revealed in the communications. Lively and Swift did not merely manipulate behind the scenes, they documented it, celebrated it, and openly mocked Baldoni for falling for their tactics. This level of hubris suggests they never imagined these private conversations would become public and never anticipated the consequences of such exposure. Hundreds of additional pages of evidence including depositions, emails, and other communications remain to be examined, and they are likely to shed further light on how the campaign unfolded. With a trial scheduled for May 18, 2026, the public will be watching closely to see what unfolds next, whether Swift issues a statement addressing her involvement, whether Lively's legal team seeks to settle before further evidence emerges, whether other celebrities begin distancing themselves, and whether the public will hold anyone accountable for what appears to be a calculated campaign of career and reputation destruction. The implications extend beyond these two celebrities. The case raises fundamental questions about accountability, integrity, and the potential abuse of influence by individuals with massive platforms. The texts are indisputable, the coordination is documented, and the manipulation is clear. Lively and Swift built their careers on relatability and authenticity, presenting themselves as role models who championed fairness and morality. Yet these messages suggest a very different reality: two high-profile figures willing to fabricate praise, coordinate media attacks, and weaponize their fame for personal and professional gain. This behavior is neither heroic nor reflective of feminist solidarity. Rather, it exemplifies cynical, calculated Hollywood power dynamics. The fallout is already reshaping public perception. Swift has faced criticism for portraying herself as a victim while simultaneously wielding immense influence, and Lively now appears willing to exploit serious allegations for professional advantage. Both reputations are at stake, and the challenge of restoring trust is immense. As additional evidence comes to light and the case progresses toward trial, the full scope of their actions will become clearer. What is already evident, however, is damning. Two of the world's most famous celebrities appear to have engaged in a coordinated effort to undermine someone's career and reputation, mocking him privately while preparing to publicly accuse him, leveraging friends and fame as tools of influence, and meticulously documenting the process in text messages that are now exposed to the world. The question facing observers is no longer whether they will be criticized or cancelled, but whether they truly deserve the scrutiny they are now under, given the depth and deliberation of their actions.